Good morning, quarantine. Didn't work. Damn it. See, when a joke doesn't work, it pisses me off. Anyway, it's Martha Reeves and the Vandellas singing Nowhere to Run. I first heard that song in the movie Good Morning. I figured, it'd be a good day to do that sort of joke day. 6? Technically 6.5 because Maryland didn't do non-essential stay at home at the schools until the middle of the week, Wednesday, where we find out that kids are now off school through April 24th. Because of the way the virus is spreading and stuff like that, I am not hoping, but I truly do not believe that they're probably going to open schools for the rest of the year. I think Virginia closed their schools down for the year on Monday or Tuesday rather, as well. So, or was it Monday or Tuesday? How the days were sort of mixing together. Last week was like the longest week in the world, mainly due to the fact was, even though I work in an essential company, they laid me off temporarily, along with close to about 20 other people, probably, I would say. Applied for unemployment, one of 3.3 million people who applied for unemployment last week. Still have not received my unemployment paperwork. So I'm hoping only that the fact of the matter is that it's taking so long. There's so many things like that. That's the reason why it's taking so long. From what I gathered, I should be okay this week for pay. I think my bosses said when they laid me off temporarily that they would pay me 100% of this week's, or rather last week's job for this week's paycheck. So then I can start unemployment next week. Of course, hopefully they're like, well, we'll bring you back soon. So, well, I work in an essential thing, but apparently I'm not essential since I was laid off. But I'm not the only one this happened to, so I can't complain too much. It's not a good feeling, and it's caused me for the last 3 days to not be able to sleep too well. That, and my cat is really freaking out also. I don't know if she's used to all this stuff going on, so I don't know what's happened about that. So it's all sort of in flux right now, and add on top of that the stuff that's going on outside. Things don't seem to be going as well as expected because we have poor management in the government, and so I don't know. Not much else I can say, but today I'm going to try to just, hunker through this episode because I'm going to keep going with my show. I'm not going to shut it down unless I do get the virus, which I'm not planning on. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to. For the most part, staying in. I go out for a walk once a day, usually with my wife, sometimes with the kids. I go to the grocery store. I think I went to the grocery store once this week. So I did that maybe twice. Once or twice. I think it was once. Yeah, I think it was only once. Went to the grocery store only once this week. And washing my hands after everything, whatever, regardless what it is, even in the house. And so we'll see what happens. But this is episode 342 of Dylan Knows. Good morning, quarantine. Again, for the foreseeable future, this show will be about, as usual, and I'm not changing the way I'm doing the show. It's the news of the week per Facebook, Twitter, and Real World as well. And the vast majority, obviously, is about COVID-19. I've got 3.5 pages of paper, stories about that stuff, but it's not all about that. There's a lot about it, but there's not all about that. We've got some In Dreams comes back. I had a wicked dream this morning, which was kind of interesting, and a new location. I always like when I do my In Dreams, I like to tell you about the locations because they're always so weird and wild, and wonder how things get in there. Some science stuff. I don't know. What else do I have that isn't COVID-19 related. Golden Girls stuff. Again, I can't read half of my shit here. Oh, I know what that is. Now that I figured it out, while I have a second here, I'm just going to do write it. I got it now. Okay. But yeah, I guess some science. I said some science stuff, but a lot, and there's some sports, some local news things. But yes, the vast majority, Pokemon Go stuff. But yes, the vast majority of animal things, the vast pops. Shut up. Just get it out. The vast majority of things are going to be about COVID-19. Now, before that, let me just, I didn't write this down, but I figured this might be something that's not COVID-19 related. I figured one of the, I guess, things that galls me the most is, and I haven't seen it, but I've seen other people say that they've seen this, and I'm glad I don't see it, but the fact that a lot of people have been laid off. As I said, about close to 20 people or so laid off at my job. Diamond, a place I used to work with, we'll get into some Diamond stuff a little later, but they are laying off a good portion of their staff as well. And the one thing I see that absolutely angers me, and I personally haven't seen this, and I'm glad I haven't, but I know people who have, that people are writing that, we're the essential ones, we're working our butts off, meanwhile you guys are sitting at home on vacation, which is not true, because as I said, for the last 3 days I have not been able to sleep very well because I'm worried about what's going to happen in the future. Yes, unemployment is good, but it's temporary. There's no guarantee that the virus will not get worse, which could eventually shut down my essential former employment place, as well as other places as well. If it doesn't, there's a possibility that they will not be able to bring me back on, which is also a very good possibility as well. So then I got to start thinking about, okay, maybe I should start looking for another position. But now you have the issue that, well, nobody's really hiring now because of that. So it's all sort of together. And then plus eventually unemployment's nice and all that, but the money's going to be less than what I make during the week. And I don't even know if I'm going to get paid weekly. It might be bi-weekly. Nice. I'll know more about that. But the fact that we're not on vacation, and if it was up to us, we'd rather be working and making money. Yes, it's nice to be home and not having to worry about doing work and stressing out about work and stressing out the possibility you could get the disease. But at the same time, nothing has happened. Plenty of other countries have forgiven payments for bills and mortgages, stuff like that, because people are being quarantined and can't work, so they're not making any money. So there's no reason to gouge people who cannot pay for their mortgages, stuff like that, when it's not like they are sitting at home doing nothing. They would rather, if we wouldn't have this issue, they'd be out working and they'd be paying you on time. But that's not the case here. And most countries besides our own are forgiving all this stuff. And as I talked about last week in my rant, I think that's a pretty good thing that should be done by this country, but it's not going to be because it's run by incompetence. But the state of New York, they are doing it, and there might be one or two other states, and I wish Maryland would do it, but I just have a bad feeling that he's not going to, because he's a Republican governor, though he has been doing a pretty good job about keeping us on pace. He still doesn't want to step on the toes of what is left of the Republican Party, so I highly doubt he's ever going to do that. So now we have to pay our mortgages, we have to pay our rent, not rent, we don't have rent, we pay a mortgage, we have to pay our bills, electrical, credit card bills, car payments, stuff like that. Again, it's not like, I'm telling you not to let us do it because we're not working. We're not working. If this event is not happening, we would be working, making money. This isn't a vacation for us. We are all nervous, wondering what's going to happen, how we're going to be able to afford to keep living. We're going to lose our house, lose our car. How are we going to afford to pay for food for our families? It's very stressful. And as stressful as I would assume it is being an essential employee and working at a position, not knowing if you're going to catch the virus, or doing the more work than you're used to doing because you're covering for 2 or 3 different people. So in the end, we're all in this together, and we're not lazy layabouts who are laughing all the way to the bank, but we're sipping tea and watching TV and calling you guys suckers. I would rather be working and making money for my family. Luckily, my wife is also considered essential. She has not been laid off, so she's actually presently working right now at her job, and that makes me nervous because there's a possibility that she could catch something at work or on the way over there or whatever. So we still have, income coming in, but it is definitely not as much as we have had, and we've had a specific budget put in place. Now our budget has been destroyed because of this. And that's what's causing stress and strain. So before you get angry at us so-called lazy layabouts for not working, consider that we'd rather be in your place. We'd gladly switch places with you. If you want to come sit at home and wonder when you're going to get your next paycheck, or how you're going to pay your rent or for food or your mortgages or your bills, and not worry about your car getting repossessed because you can't afford the payments, or losing your insurance, stuff like that, I gladly switch with you in a second so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy wonderful life of anxiety that is currently going through my body right now. All right, I promised I wasn't going to get into this, but I had to get that off my chest. There's a whole lot more I want to say, but I'm going to bite my tongue on a lot of stuff. So on that note, we're going to get into today's episode because I've already wasted 12. According to my analytics, people only watch about 5 minutes of the show anyway. So good news, though, is that because people are more at home, my viewings have been going up. Granted, as I said, they only watch about 5 minutes of the show, but hey, it's 5 minutes of something, Maybe I should just do 5-minute shows. I should do like a bunch of 5-minute shows like I should stop now. It's been 13 minutes. Maybe go to 15 minutes and then stop and then restart again, do it 5 minutes and then stop. Now that wouldn't work. So we're just going to do this now and get through this. So first up, so as I said, no real order. As I said, there'll be some stuff that's not related to COVID-19, but to be honest, about 90% of today's episode is stuff that's been going on with COVID-19. Not only am I doing this, I'm not doing this to stress you all out, but I'm doing this to keep you in mind that if you're thinking about doing things you're not supposed to be doing because you're bored, or you don't believe what's going on, or you believe you're going to get sick, this hopefully will help you realize that actually it's a lot worse than people are anticipating. So let's go on. First, we're going to talk about stupid people. In crisis time like this, people will believe anything that will keep them alive without having to worry about, getting drugs or whatever. In this case, it's been going around that if you blow dry your nose, it'll stop the spread of COVID-19. I think their belief is if you shoot a stream of hot air up your nose where the virus might be consistent, the intense heat will kill it. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. It doesn't work that way. And don't blow dry your nose. It's not smart. It's just as stupid as people sticking shit up their vaginas. Don't blow dry your nose. People, use a little common sense there, all right? If you do feel ill, they're saying take Tylenol, not ibuprofen. So that's kind of hard because when you go to the grocery store or the pharmacy or whatever, all the Tylenol is gone. All that's left is ibuprofen, but they're saying ibuprofen makes things worse for the virus. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any scientific studies on that yet, so I couldn't tell you about that. But for now, don't blow dry your nose, all right? Actually, one person left because it's like, oh, I don't want to hear about you blow drying your nose hairs. So I was like, I don't believe you. It's a liberal conspiracy. Or it's within about the 5-minute window, so I guess, hey, boom, we're out. In Rwanda, a man defies a lockdown law to go fishing, ends up getting eaten by a crocodile. And also in Rwanda, 2 other guys broke the lockdown, get into an argument, and shoot and kill each other. Again, people, the lockdown is put in place to help you. So, because our numbers are lining up with where they were 2 weeks ago. with what is going on in our country right now. So be smart. Don't break the curfew, because in this case, you get eaten by crocodiles or you end up shooting and killing each other. So don't do that. I think I have another. No, that was last week. There might be another weird lockdown story coming up too. I don't know. Okay, I talked about that. Boom, I can cross that out. One of the things that I was hoping for was that I'd still be working, obviously, and I was not thinking that we were essential last week. I thought that we were going to shut down when Maryland said that all non-essential shops need to shut down, businesses need to shut down. But in this case, we are essential, and I was mistaken about that. But as I said, I'd be willing to be working right now, rather be working now than just sitting at home panicking about if I'm going to survive or I'm going to be able to stay above water. But one of the things I was thinking before all this came down was that if they did say non-essential, offices had to close and my business was considered non-essential and I would end up having to stay home for a while, I was going to buy a Nintendo Switch to wait out the lockdown until we were able to go back. Of course, now that I've been laid off, that is not the case. So at the same time, though, while trying to think about that, there's actually a Nintendo Switch shortage right now because of the amount of people who are self-isolating, quarantining themselves, or social distancing themselves. So they figure, why not get a handheld video game thing you can hold in your hands and move around the house instead of having to have someone hooked up to your TV. And with Animal Crossing coming out this past Friday, was it this past Friday or was it last Friday? 2 weeks ago. It might have been 2 weeks ago. But anyway, it was Animal Crossing is a huge game, and all the other stuff's going on right now. My son is playing Fortnite right now. My wife has been playing Pokemon Sword on her Switch. So I was hoping I'd be able to get one, but alas, I will not be able to get one. Besides, I probably wouldn't be able to get one even if I wanted to right now because of the shortages going on. Because before all this came down, I went to Amazon to see how long it would take for it to ship, and they're like, you're not going to get it to like April 28th. I was like, okay. So we'll see. Speaking of video game stuff, this is not quite COVID-19 related, but the source code for the Xbox game Series X has been stolen by hackers and is being held for $100 million ransom. That's kind of an interesting story about how something like that could happen, and how can you get it back without having to pay the $100 million? Police officers to hunt them down, because at this point the hackers probably have spread their logins or whatever all over the country, the world, whatever, so no one knows exactly where they're coming from. But to hold it hostage so you can't release it, it's terrible, but you got to step in. It's like, you know what? I'll hold on to it. We'll find out what's going on about that. That's kind of interesting. Florida man. It's been a while since we did a Florida man thing, and we thought, well, maybe during the quarantine it would settle down, but Florida is one of the states where they're disregarding quarantine. The governor, a Republican, is refusing to believe that COVID-19 is really happening, I believe, and them and Alabama, who are also not shutting down, are going to be in for a big surprise in the next couple weeks. I'm telling you that right now. Of course, they'll figure out a way to blame somebody else, but I'm not going to go there anymore. Florida man, and this goes back with what happened in Rwanda. A Florida man was arrested and charged with stealing 66 rolls of toilet paper from a hotel. So basically the dude, he was able to go out and about because it's not a stay-in-place law in Florida, and plus, they don't have any shutdown, so they could just go around. But obviously, they're feeling the pinch of the toilet paper shortage as well. So the guy goes to a hotel and steals 66 rolls of toilet paper. It makes sense, I mean, I guess that's one way you can do it, as long as you don't get caught, And the other thing also is, if I'm going to give you some criminal advice. If you want to be smart, you don't all steal it from one place, because hotels will have multiple levels with multiple supply rooms that will have multiple toilet paper rolls. So what you do is you don't just steal 66 from the first floor one. You steal, let's say there's 11 floors, steal 6 from each floor. And you don't have to do it all at one time, you can come in and look like you are a member of the hotel, go upstairs and somehow work your way into the supply closet, which is odd because most supply closets at hotels, you have to have a special card or something to get into. So I don't know how he did it, but the fact of the matter is he did it, but he got busted. So if you want to do it and not get busted, I would recommend hitting all the supply closets and only taking a little at a time. Don't take all at once because that's a little obvious what you're doing. Also, make sure you don't get seen, but take a few from every floor. Now, at the same time, you got to think about it too. You really should, and this is one thing you should always do if you want to be a criminal mastermind, and I can't believe I'm not telling people this, but the best thing to do is research when you want to be a criminal mastermind. Because you go in there, if you go in and just say, I'm going to steal $100 million, and you just walk into the bank and you threaten to kill people, and you somehow are able to get the $100 million, your face is on videotape, you have witnesses, there could be security guard might be not be afraid of you and might attack you. Other members of who were in the bank could attack you also. A policeman could be in the area. They could come. You could have standoff. It could be really, really bad. They could set off a silent alarm. They could put in a gel pack, whatever you want to call those things, a dye pack. Excuse me. What you need to do is you need to research. Take some time. Don't go in all half-cocked. Go in, case the joint. It might take a couple of days, but case the joint, see how when people's shifts change, when people go to lunch, when the least amount of police officers are available, or, how many security cameras they have, and where they are, and then try to, you might be seen the first day, but remember, they're going to go back, they're going to look through days of stuff. So they might see if you pop up every day at a specific case by staying outside of where the camera ranges are, or you go in disguise, which is another thing you need to do when you're robbing banks. Now, personally, I think the best way to rob banks is at night when nobody's there. Now, you have to figure out how you're going to be able to break in and stuff like that. There's ways to do that. It's probably, if you want to rob a bank, it's probably not smart to go at night because they lock the doors, alarms are set, you won't be able to get into the access and stuff without keys. So you probably need to go in and, people rob the bank, with somebody there who can help you out. That's why maybe banks aren't the best place to rob, but I digress. But disguises are always good, but always patrol so you know where things are and figure out what the best time to go is, when's the best time to hit, when the least amount of people you think are going to be in there. Now, obviously, it could change depending on certain things. You probably don't want to go on a Friday when most people get their paychecks and put it into the bank. Same thing with the hotel. What you do is you case the hotel out. You see where all the supply closets are. You try to figure out where, the specific, house cleaners are, how they get in, stuff like that. And if it's an easy way to get in, if there's like 2 supply closets on, a floor, just take like 2 from each one. You can stuff those in your shirt. No one will know anything different. And before you know it, just take 2 from here, 2 from there, 2. It's not going to be like, weren't there like a whole ton of them right there? If you take all 66 from one, you're gonna be like, I know there was toilet paper there, but if there's 2 missing, they'll be like, well, maybe that the house cleaners took it. They're not going to think much about it if 1 or 2 are missing. But if all 66 are, that's a problem. So maybe that's what I should do this show from now on, is how to be a perfect criminal mastermind. I think I'd be pretty damn good at it. Researching costumes. Wisconsin man wanted to give beer to his neighbor, but during their social distancing, quarantine, stuff like that, what he ended up doing was putting the beer on a RC car, remote controlled car, and drove it to his neighbor's house. The beer, obviously, come on, we know the joke, was a Corona. But still, friends will try to figure out anything they can to keep in touch, share a beer with your buddies. Send it by RC car, absolutely. Make sure it's wiped down perfectly, blah, blah, blah. But there you go. A man in Spain learns that his upstairs neighbor is in the hospital with COVID-19. So they live in an apartment complex. So his is here and his upstairs neighbor's right there. They have decks. But his dog, he knows that there's a dog up there, but the man hasn't been in the hospital. The dog might not get fed. So the guy feeds the neighbor's dog every day. So what he does is he gets a dog bowl, gets dog food, and then he reaches up to the second level so that the dog eats it. It's a little awkward. The dog has to stick its head out, but at least he's eating. And the guy's helping his neighbor, so that's kind of cool. Neighbors play tennis out their windows in an apartment complex as well. And it's a funny video. They're sitting there. They got it perfect. They're right next to their neighbor, so they're going boom, boom, boom. And it's in perfect sync. Boom, 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 boom. And then they're like, oh, yeah, this is really cool. And then boom, boom, boom. And then they're like, oops. But people are finding different ways to survive during self-isolation and quarantining to keep up their social activity as well. And, you know, if you figure out ways to do it, that's great. As I said, I'm not really close friends with anybody in my neighborhood, but we are all going out and taking walks, obviously keeping, you know, distance from each other. So we go down Main Street, you know, people coming down the road, we give them plenty of room. They give us plenty of room. You know, we say hi, we're all friendly, everything's great, you know, and it's fantastic. So it's really neat seeing all this stuff. Now, you've seen also about foreign countries and people singing and stuff like that. Well, of course, in New York City, because America's stupid, New York City, there was a guy who was singing like he saw in the Italian videos to try to cheer people up. And someone, of course, from New York yells out, "Hey, shut the fuck up." So, gotta love Americans, gotta love New York. Hello. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And be able to get your Fast Times at Ridgemont High pops, including, oh God, my mind, the hot actress who's Kevin Kline, who takes off her top in Fast Times. You get to see her in her bikini. God, it's killing me. You know, this is killing me. I hate when my brain doesn't work. I'll probably come up with it before. She was in Gremlins. Phoebe Cates, yes. Hot Phoebe Cates. So you can get your Phoebe Cates pop. You can get your Spicoli pops. He's got two versions, Spicoli pops there. You get your Phoebe Cates pop in her iconic red bikini. You'll be able to get your teacher, Ray Walston teacher, Mr. Hand, his as well. So it's pretty good there. And then you get a Salt and Pepper one. So if you like Salt and Pepper or ZZ Top, you'll be able to get those Funko Pops once this whole situation disappears, and you'll be able to go out and buy stuff again. So, you know, hell, you might be even buy it off of Amazon now. Granted, if you've noticed, Amazon has been pushing back delivery dates of non-essential stuff. So there's been a bunch of books that I've been interested in getting, and they're Prime, but they're saying stuff like you're not going to be able to get them till like April 17th or the 20th or whatever. And then the other weird thing is that stuff that I have been buying, I haven't bought much obviously in a little while because of my financial situation, but stuff that I had already had in the pipeline before I got laid off has been having different dates. It's like saying, okay, we're going to come, you know, next week, you know, and then it comes like the next day. So who knows what's going on, but just keep an eye about that. Disneyland and Disney World will be remaining closed indefinitely. So they were supposed to reopen, I think, end of next week. But now, because of the situations going on in the world, they're going to be closed indefinitely till they believe that everything has been cleared up. Now, this is probably the longest it has ever been closed, because in all its career, it's only shut down until now like 3 times, and one was for the assassination of John F. Kennedy. One was for the earthquake in 89, the earthquake in 89 that rocked San Francisco and had tremors all the way down to Anaheim. And then 9/11. Now, I don't remember, did they open like right after 9/11 or did they stay closed for a while? That I can't remember. It just said those are the 3 days that stayed closed. So I'm wondering if they stayed open after 9/11 and they didn't have as many people because flights were, you could not fly for like at least a week and a half after 9/11. And so now it's doing the same thing too. I mean, it makes sense. You're going to have a ton of crowds. People are going to want to go. And as I said, if you look in the future, 6 months down the line, or even in next year is going to be absolutely crazy. If we get this beaten with, within the next couple of weeks and everything gets cleaned up and there's not any more incidents, stuff like that, this place is going to go absolutely crazy. The summer could be absolutely whacked if this virus is done within the next couple of weeks. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to go into the summer. But, my son did something wrong. I think he dropped the video. You all right? Everything okay? Are you sure? Okay. Teenagers. So we'll see. It's going to be an absolutely insane party time. People, I really think people are going to go. I think depending on when this ends, if this ends by say July, and things start clearing out and opening up, and things start restarting over and over again, and things start settling down and getting back to the way things were before, I think you're going to see an absolutely huge increase in movie going, theater going out to dinner, parties. Celebrations. Christmas could be huge for people who are still alive and are happy to be alive and have started, making their money again. They're going to probably go all out, be happy that they're alive. And then like all the movies coming out, as I said, being pushed back from now to down there. Are we going to have to, reorient things, redo stuff to 2021? The Olympics have been moved to 2021. I think that's one of my stories. So that's another thing. So the Olympics, Japanese Olympics makes sense, move to 2021. Japan never seems to really get lucky when they host the Olympics, but so they're being, I'll find it eventually. There it is. Olympics are postponed to 2021. So we'll see that next year. That'll be fun, but that'll be a big party as well. Everybody who survived. And that's one of the things you got to keep an eye out for. If you want to try to keep your spirits up, even though it's hard right now, just think about what could be when this is all over. And that's a good advice to think about. Ryan Reynolds to star in a live-action Netflix film based on Dragon's Lair, the 1980s hit video arcade game, which was done. Dragon's Lair and Space Ace were some of the most original arcade games of the time, because arcade games were huge in the 1980s, but those two were even bigger because instead of using typical digitized stuff that you always see, 8-bit, characters, stuff like that, they used animation. Don Bluth, a guy who directed American Tail and All Dogs Go to Heaven, stuff like that, he and Secret of Nim, he did the animation for Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, and it was basically you were playing the cartoon and you were sending them where to go. It was one of the absolute best arcade games there was. And then when I first got my DVD player back in '97, so the first year I got my DVD player, I got they had a Dragon's Lair DVD, which had you could play the game on your DVD. I think I did it once, and it wasn't, I don't remember how we were able to control it. But I still have that upstairs somewhere. But the fact is, I think Ryan Reynolds is a good choice for Dragon's Lair. Could be an interesting film that, as I say, could be one of those that, once this quarantine is over, they're probably not going to start filming it for a while, and then it'll probably be something next year sometime. So that might be a real crazy thing. What they should do is they should make it a combination animation and live action, and have it be Ryan Reynolds live action, the princess live action, but have like the dragon and some of the other creatures like that in space to be animated. I think that'd be kind of a wild thing to do. I guess that's technically what they were going to do anyway. So I don't know. ESPN, who owned by Disney, is going to be airing Disney movies instead of sports because there is no sports. Now, granted, it's not going to be like 24/7 Disney movies, but to fill some of their shifts, because they're 24/7 network, they will be showing Disney movies. Now, I don't know if it's just going to be sports related or it's just going to be in general Disney movies. So I don't know what that is. So let me see. Coyotes have been seen on the empty streets of San Francisco. Animals are starting to take back, the land because there's no people around to bother them, so they have no fear going around tail. Then they said, we're going to close down, during this, quarantine. Now they're going to permanently shut down about 300 shops. So could they return in some form or another? It's possible. Right now they're saying we're done. We're going to shutter these. We're going to liquidate the or we're going to remove all the product, put it in like a warehouse or whatever, and shut down these places. Now we've got two real close to us, so I'm wondering if, I guess the odds would be one of those would probably shut down. I was hoping it wouldn't be permanent, but the story says it's a permanent. So we'll see. Lamar Jackson, who is the Ravens quarterback, MVP of the NFL last year, is suing Amazon over third-party sellers who are selling his items that he did not allow. What's the proper word? His unauthorized. He did not authorize people to use his likeness, his number, whatever, but people are making their own Lamar Jackson shirts and are profiting off of it and are not giving any of the money to Lamar because I think they get a piece of their merchandising, I think. And that's why the NFL is usually the only one that's allowed to do these authorized jerseys and pictures, shirts, and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens about that. To go check that out. Here's something that isn't coronavirus related. Beetlejuice. We've been talking about Beetlejuice, the star, over the last couple of weeks. One was first time it was like it was fading and that it was going to supernova at any time. Then scientists like, no, wait a second. It's just due to it, emitting stardust that obscured the view, and they've taken more pictures of it, and it actually is growing in size now instead of decreasing in size, which means it's not going to supernova anytime. But now the newest thing is Betelgeuse now actually changing shape? Do they have maybe too much energy or stardust and is creating it to be a bizarre looking star? So that was to be continued. Obviously, I thought it was over and done with. Okay, so it's going to be fine, but now it looks like something else could happen to it. So that could be interesting. Netflix outages are occurring. That one is basically understandable because with more people being quarantined in their house, self-isolating or whatever, can't go outside, there's really not much you can do but watch Netflix. I mean, you can watch Netflix, you can play video games, you can read, you can clean your house, you can have sex, you can play with your kids, go for walks, do homework, write your book, paint. You can do whatever you want, but most people don't want to do anything. They're trying to catch up on their Netflix. They'd rather stay home and just watch, binge watch series and stuff like that. So Netflix outages was due to happen because everybody's on it. So we'll see what happens. Disney Plus is seeking viewers' opinions if they should create a Whedon Whedon universe section on Disney Plus that would house Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly, Angel, Dollhouse, all the shows that Joss Whedon was involved with in the Whedonverse. Most people are accepting. I guess they have the rights to it. Most people like the idea. I personally think it's a good idea too, but a lot of those shows are not family friendly, and if Disney Plus is trying to stay as family friendly as they can, it might not be a smart thing to do. So that's to be continued as well. They were just checking to see what people agreed, and it's sort of been almost not really 50-50, but it's been sort of, a little bit more people are thinking that it should than shouldn't. So again, to be continued. We'll see what happens with that. People are finding all kinds. I said I gave you just a list of things people are doing. People are also watching a lot of YouTube on how to build things. People are creating a lot of different craft projects, stuff like that. Someone has created a way to make homemade bagpipes with a trash bag and a recorder. So you can find that on YouTube, I guess. They'll tell you how to make your very own homemade bagpipes. And those people who think bagpipes are stupid, you're stupid. Ha! McDonald's logo is changing to promote social distancing. Instead of the golden arches, it is the so there's a space in between them. See, social distancing. So there's that as well. Neil Gaiman. Another thing people are doing now is celebrities, stuff like that, are reading books. Patrick Stewart is reading Shakespeare's sonnets, and he's videotaping himself and posting them onto YouTube, Facebook, and all that, so you can actually see the sonnet of the day sort of thing that he's reading, and his dulcet tones and all that, so you can actually see the sonnet of the day sort of thing that he's reading, and his dulcet tones make it really great. Other celebrities are reading books, so that parents who have to stay at home with their kids, they can put the kids in front of it and they can get a book read to them by one of their favorite celebrities. LeVar Burton, who's always been known for reading Rainbow, obviously Star Trek Next Generation, but Rainbow was what he first started doing, and he's always been a proponent of reading and literacy and stuff like that. He was trying to figure out what he can do, because you have to get permission from the authors to read their books online, unless it's in the what's the word I'm thinking, in the public domain. You can do whatever you want. But if there are certain books you want to read that are not in the public domain, you have to get the approval of either the author or the publisher, I think. So in this case, LeVar went to Facebook or whatever, said he's trying to figure out, what books he can read or something like that. And Neil Gaiman, writer of Good Omens, or co-writer, I should say, of Good Omens, writer of what is that one? American Gods, Neverwhere, Coraline, the Graveyard Book, stuff like that, said that he gives LeVar Burton blanket permission to read any of his books. And so LeVar took it, and ran with it. And one of his videos, he started off one of his videos reading one of Neil Gaiman's short stories. So it's good to see stuff like that happening. I bet you Stephen King would be similar, because I've told you a story about how he puts a bunch of his short stories into the public domain. And if you're a film student and you want to make a film version or TV show of one of his short stories, you have to get his permission to do it. He will sell you the rights to his short stories for $1. And the only other stipulation is you have to send him a copy of the video, of the movie, TV show, whatever. So a lot of film students have been able to do projects based on, so it's kind of cool when they do this. And I would bet that Stephen King would probably be okay with people reading his stories as well. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but before you decide you want to read a story, and I didn't actually know this one, a few years ago I did my Christmas story, Christmas episode of Dylan Knows where I read Christmas stories to people. I was not aware of that stipulation. So that was a couple years ago. I'm aware of it now. Anyway, I've done it anyway. So who are stuck in quarantine. The whole reason for Pokemon Go was to get people outside to walk and interact. But we're in strange times where are the kids actually playing by themselves and not doing electronics? That's interesting. That are not appeasing, but are helping people now with the pandemic where you can't really be in social groups. They've been shutting down, the raid weekends when you expect a lot of people to be together, though they are still allowing regular raids to pop up on gyms. They're just saying if you decide to do a raid, do your social distancing, and that's fine. But they are not doing raid days anymore, raid hours when you get a whole bunch of people at one time to go out. Whereas, when you have a regular egg pop up and a raid pop up, you can get a small group of people together and do it. So that's good. So in order to do that, they've done a whole bunch of things. They've offered a bunch of things for 1 Pokecoin in their store, including 100 Pokeballs and 35 or 40 incenses, something like that lasts for an hour. They've upped the increases of Pokemon so that if you're at your home or you're taking a walk outside, instead of being 1 or 2 popping up, they're having 4 or 5 pop up. Honestly, I think they've also been a little bit more lax on the shinies because I've gotten 2 in the last 2 days. Granted, they're the same Pokemon, but still, they're doing that. The Safari events have all been canceled, but what they're doing is for people who are not canceled, they've been postponed, I should say. It might be done later in the year. But for those people who paid for their tickets already, they gave them, and a good example is this weekend's the St. Louis event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So today's the last day for that. If you have a ticket for either Sunday's event or all 3 or whatever, they know, so they will open up the Safari Day stuff to you from your home. So basically from your home, you can sit at your home for 6 hours or whatever it is that the Safari Zone is for, maybe 8 hours, because the incenses that they have there that they give you are 8 hours. And they have new shiny stuff like that. So they're basically, to those people who bought the tickets, they're releasing all the special stuff for the St. Louis Safari Zone just to them at that moment, like the unknowns and the shinies, and increasing the shiny chances for these people like that. And I said the 8-hour incenses, and I guess there's ways that they're opening up Pokestops, I guess, because maybe they're overwriting your map where you are, so you have all the Pokestops, so you can spin the Pokestops and get the research you need to do stuff. I guess that's how it works. So I'm wondering if it's going to be the same thing for I think there's a Korea one and then a Philadelphia one coming up. So I think they're going to do the same thing for them. So that's good. But right now, they're also still doing events. The psychic event is going Soul Rock, which is a giant stone sun. I've got 2 shinies over the last 2 days. One from my house, just sitting at home. The other day, I just put on an hour incense and sat at home, and I got a ton of Pokemon rolling through without having to get up from the couch. But now I still go out and still walk. As I said, when my wife and I do our walks during the day, we're doing Pokemon Go as well. But they're taking care of you. So if you haven't been doing Pokemon Go, or you've been lax about it, now might be a good time to get back into it, particularly with everything being a lot more easier and things popping up for you. So I'll give that to you guys. Dog sprains his tail due to excessive wagging when his owner comes out from quarantine. They were actually in self-isolation quarantine, so he wasn't able to see his dog till he was okay. And then as soon as he got home, the dog had excessive wagging and eventually sprained his tail due to the fact that he was wagging so hard. A movie theater owner is selling curbside popcorn to pay his employees. So if you want real movie theater popcorn, I don't know exactly where this place is, but keep an eye out. Maybe some other movie theaters doing that as well. You can drive up, get your curbside popcorn at the movie theater. Drive up, get your curbside popcorn at the movie theater, and take it home and watch a movie there. People who wait all year for Christmas, all year putting up their Christmas lights to make people feel better. One person I saw is basically saying since Christmas and Easter are the two big Catholic holidays, they keep their Christmas lights up all the way through Easter, which kind of makes sense too. When I think of that, I had took mine down months ago, maybe not months ago, but a month ago, I guess. So I had mine up for a while too. Steve Irwin's daughter, Bindi, was married in her dad's empty zoo just before lockdown. So good for her and her new husband, and life is good for them now. They now are on lockdown, honeymoon wise, which, newly married, no kids, probably having a lot of sex, which is good, which would be nice. Kids in Japan create virtual, and that's kind of neat as well. Let's see. All right, so let me try to see. These might be because new feathered carnivorous dinosaur has been found in New Mexico. So science is still going despite the COVID-19 outbreak. In this case, a new dinosaur has been discovered in New Mexico, so that's kind of neat, interesting news about that. Dyson, which has the best vacuum cleaners, has created a new ventilator and has begun shipping them immediately. That worked really, really well. Good job for the Dyson inventors. I think that's really cool of them to do that. Major League Baseball jersey maker is making masks, so you can get out of the jerseys that they had been making. So you can get like Oriole jerseys and as face masks, and Yankee jerseys as face masks, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to get about 55 minutes, and we're going to get into kind of the rough stuff. We're going to detail the bunch of people that have not only died due to COVID-19, but because of other stuff. So there's been a lot of death this week. Some of it due to COVID-19, some of it just due to regular stuff. So we'll get off it there with Manu Dibango, who is a African saxophone legend, died of COVID-19 this week. Bill Rieflin, a drummer for REM, Ministry, and King Crimson, died this week as well. That wasn't COVID-19 related, but he passed away. I bring that up because after Bill Berry left REM, who was the drummer of REM, they had to hire drummers to play on their albums and in concerts, stuff like that. So Bill was one of the guys that they hired. He passed away. So been lots of memories from REM about that. Stuart Gordon, director of Reanimator and a bunch of other B films and big producer, stuff like that. He passed away this week. Not COVID-19 related, but still he passed away this week. Co-creator of Albert Undervo, co-creator of Asterix, died this week as well. That wasn't of COVID-19 though. Asterix is one of the longest running comic book cartoons out there. It's about a little Frenchman, a big fat, I guess, Celtic guy who go through and have adventures in history. The artwork is fantastic. So it's really kind of good. Chef Floyd Cordos dies of COVID-19. He was a famous chef, I guess won some awards and stuff like that. Playwright Terrence McNally, who I have heard of, died of COVID-19 this week as well. William Buttons, the voice of Bob the Builder, died this week. That wasn't COVID-19 related. Hiroshi Masuko, voice actor for a bunch of stuff in Japan, primarily, obviously. He died this week as well. Mark Blum, a character actor who was in the Netflix show You and Desperately Seeking Susan, and he's been in a ton of movies. Actually, let me see what else he's been in, because he's one of those character actors that has the most familiar face that you've ever seen. And you're like, I know that guy from somewhere. So let's see. He was in Crocodile Dundee, The Presidio, Blind Date, Desperately Seeking Susan, was on the TV show Sweet Surrender, also appeared on Capitol News, Frasier, NYPD Blue, Mozart in the Jungle, was a playwright, was in the former Lifetime thriller, now Netflix show You. Let's see, where's his filmography? Here we go. This page protected. Okay, that's right. Desperately Seeking Susan, Crocodile Dundee, Blind Date, The Presidio, Worth Winning. That's where I know him from. Worth Winning, he plays the best friend of Mark Harmon, who makes the bet with him. Oh, geez. Now I remember the Freddie Prinze Jr., Julia Stiles movie. That's about it for movies. TV was in St. Elsewhere, Miami Vice, Capitol, Sopranos, West Wing, Ed, The Practice, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, CSI Miami, Judging Amy, New Amsterdam, Fringe, a bunch of Law and Order scenes where he played different characters. Mercy, The Good Wife, Law and Order Special Victims Unit, Mozart in the Jungle, The Blacklist, You, Elementary. Again, most of these just, one and dones, but there was a few he did more. So that's where I recognize him most, is from Worth Winning. So I got that one. So he passed away from COVID-19 this week as well. Curly Neal of the Globetrotters, back when the Globetrotters were huge back in the, 80s. Maybe in the 70s as well. Curly Neal was one of the big guys up there with Meadowlark Lemon as well. He passed away this week just of... Yes, good. My friend Bonnie, one of the people who got laid off, was able to get her unemployment online. There we go. So I just want to respond to that. So Curly Neal of the Harlem Globetrotters, up there with Meadowlark Lemon, were some of the more famous ones. They appeared in the Scooby-Doo movies, so that's where I remember them most. I never actually went to see a Harlem Globetrotters live thing, but I remember them from the Scooby-Doo movie. They did like 2 or 3 of them, so that was always kind of cool to see those. So that's how I know Curly from. Josh Walwork, a Law and Order SUV costumer, died of COVID-19 this week. Former Reds baseball player Jimmy the Toy Cannon Wynn died this week as well. He didn't die of COVID-19, just died of old age. Let's see, these are all people who have been... And I had some more deaths over here. Other deaths this week were composer Christoph Pendermelon, I guess, died of COVID-19 this week. Former LSU standout and Broncos wide receiver Orlando McDonald died of COVID-19 this week. And father of former NFL QB Bobby Herbert died of COVID-19 this week as well. So lots of people, died this week, and some of it was due to COVID-19. Sophia Miles' dad died of COVID-19. She is an actress from Game of Thrones and Doctor Who. Her dad died from that. And then, all those people passed away from it. But now we have... Rand Paul, a senator in the White House and the Congress, who is a-hole, has been infected with COVID-19. Harvey Weinstein, another a-hole, has contacted COVID-19 in prison. 2 ESPN employees have been infected with COVID-19 as well. COVID-19 outbreak on a Navy ship hit a bunch of naval officers as well. Workers in 8 Amazon warehouses have been infected with COVID-19 this week as well. So I'm just bringing this up because it's not just unknowns or whatever. There's lots of stuff happening about here, and some more. Placido Domingo, opera singer, has COVID-19. Boris Johnson, the PM of England, and Prince Charles both have COVID-19. Again, they may die, or they may recover. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, they contacted COVID-19 early. They went through the symptoms. They were out for a week. Now they're back home, recovering from the outbreak. NBC Universal CEO test positive for COVID-19. 3 dozen who attended church in Arkansas have contacted COVID-19. Entire nursing home of 94 people in New Jersey has contacted COVID-19. Influencer who who licked a toilet for the coronavirus challenge gets the coronavirus. That's irony. What else is there? I know there's some other ones here. James Dolan, the Knicks owner, has COVID-19 as well. 6 positive COVID-19 cases in Kentucky were linked to a St. Patrick's Day party. Athletics minor league coach is on a ventilator after getting COVID-19 as well. A number of spring breakers who refuse to social distance have all gotten COVID-19 as well. Is there anything else? I think I got all those. I don't know if there's any other ones here, but that's a lot of people who have been infected that you may know. And the whole thing is that, well, when Ebola and H1N1, all that sort of came in over the last few years, we didn't have the panic because we had the CDC in place, we had a response unit in place, and we were able to nip it in the bud because we had everything in place. We don't have those in place now because of what that idiot government did by getting rid of all that stuff, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so at that time, I think no one really that you might have known got any of those things, which I'm not saying it's good for those who did and who didn't and who passed away. And I'm not making light of the fact that people died from those as well. But the fact of the matter is, this one has infected so many more people, and so many more people that you have heard of and know about and who are famous. And it's not just contained to poor people, rich people, whatever. It's everybody is getting this infected. People used to say it used to be just older people were more susceptible for it, to people who have a precondition. Well, now, the people in Maryland, we've had like close to 700 cases or something like that. The majority of them are my age, between 40 and 60 years old. There have been kids. You said, okay, kids aren't going to be really infected that much. Well, yeah, actually, a couple of them have been. It's not as big, which is good, but there's still a possibility they could get it, though. And I'm just waiting for Florida not shutting down, Alabama not shutting down. They're keeping things going. That idiot wanting to reopen everything on Easter Sunday is going to cause this virus not to level out. It's going to cause it to increase. But I'm not gonna, and this is just, I'm just telling you this to just get you in the mindset that this is a serious thing. So if you're even considering, well, I don't need to deal with it, you need to deal with this. You need to listen to what they're saying. You need to deal with this. You need to listen to what they're saying. Ride out at home. As I said, once this passes, You can do all the shit you've been wanting to do. You can go absolutely ape shit crazy. I'm making a list of all the stuff on Amazon that I'm going to buy my ass off if I get my job back and I make the money I'm expecting to make and things go back to normal. I'm going to go on a freaking buying spree. I'm going to buy a ton of stuff for myself that I don't need. I'm going to buy stuff for my wife, my kids, hell, family members, whatever. I'll just say, hey, we're happy to be alive. Boom, here's some shit for you. And it's going to be huge. Christmas is going to be huge. Parties are going to be huge. Halloween is going to be huge. You know, it's going to be absolutely crazy. So you just got to consider if we can get through and ride this out. As I said, I'm looking probably sometime in midsummer. Hopefully, if more people would pay attention and not do stupid stuff. Again, not making light of the people who have passed away due to this. Absolutely would not do that in a second. But it's survivors' guilt and happiness. You know, you're glad you survived and happy you survived, but at the same time, you know, you feel guilty for being one of the ones that survived. But we'll cross that bridge. So we just have to ride this out. I know it seems like it's taken forever. It's getting really hard, but hey, look at it this way. The temperature is getting warmer up here in the northern hemisphere. Granted, southern hemisphere is entering their fall winter right now, but things are going to be getting warmer. We've got Easter to look forward to, even though it's going to be a stay-at-home quarantine Easter sort of thing. But then you've got, you know, summer rolling through, and eventually, again, if we can ride this out and the virus levels out, back to swimming pools and beaches and vacation stuff like that. So good about that. Did I officially? Crocs have been are being given away free to the essential employees working in hospitals, which we cannot stress enough about how the real heroes of this event are the hospital staff that's working overtime. I now have my cousin-in-law, who is a doctor, as part of the U.S. Navy, has been sent word that he has to go to New York to help out up there. He's leaving, I think, tomorrow. So I'm worried about him now. And my cousin down in North Carolina and her 3 boys. So that's going to be a little rough to think about, but he's a very good doctor and he's needed up there, and he will save as many lives as he possibly can. And having him there is only better. So having them do all that stuff and work their butts off, we need to do something special for them when all this levels out. Same thing with the people who work your grocery stores and your gas stations and your truck drivers, and you know, the people who clean for a living, you know, making sure everything's done. All these low-paid people who have not been taken care of by the upper echelon people. These people need to have, you know, be taken care of, teachers, everything like that. This needs to be a come to Jesus moment that says, we are surviving this. We survived this not because the rich business people who could easily put their money where their mouth is and take care of all the stuff that we need, but they're not going to because they don't want to. But the people who are working their asses off, minimum wage or less, you know, making sure stuff keeps running normally so that everybody's protected. Those are the real heroes, and you need to keep that in mind when this thing's over. Jennifer Lawrence stops a home invasion at her house. A fan broke into her house and just wanted to meet her and stuff like that, but Jennifer Lawrence was able to defuse it. See, that's why it's got to be scary to be a celebrity, because you've got these weirdos coming at you all the time. The Waffle Houses have closed all locations. That's a big deal because Waffle House usually open like 24/7. Everybody loves Waffle House, but this is a big deal. They've closed down. Lincoln Tattoo Parlor donates 50,000 gloves to a hospital. That's a really good thing to do as well. Gail Simone calls for a DC Marvel crossover when comics come back. So a lot of the creators are saying this is who I would like to see as in a DC Marvel crossover. What I think they should do is they just shouldn't do some sort of major crossover. Just have DC Marvel open up their lax and say, okay, what writers, who do you want to do? And then just spend a whole month of comics before you get back into the main storylines, just having these alternate stories where you have, you know, miniseries or whatever, with these, superheroes teaming up between Marvel and DC. Diamond, as I said earlier, Diamond Comics Distributors has shut down shipping of comics and has laid off a number of temporary employees as well. As I said, that's why 3.3 million people are applying for unemployment, because of a lot of these temporary layoffs and stuff like that, hoping that once the virus levels out and things can open up again and we can stop being quarantined in our houses, they can get back to status quo and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. That has affected people that I know, because I'm still in contact with a number of my friends from Diamond as well. So they're still, they're suffering as everybody else is as well. So you got to keep that in mind also, is that you're not the only one who's suffering. There are many of us. And even the essential employees who are working, who are making the money, they're suffering as well, because they're having higher stress and having to do more work and are more apt to be exposed. And everything goes back to normal. Go to your small businesses around the area and spend your money. Go crazy. I'm telling you, the economy is going to send items on my list at Amazon, and I added like 5 of them yesterday. And I'm going to go. I didn't get my comics for this past week. Last week was the last week that they were going to have new comics, and I could have, but I didn't. So we'll see. Something not COVID-19 related, the Golden Girls now have their own tiki mugs. So you get, one of each of the Golden Girls and their own tiki mugs. They're done in the tiki style, which I don't know, you can see it in the back now because I'm doing this sort of dark, mid-afternoon sort of thing. The Walking Dead season finale, Flash, a whole bunch of other TV series that are currently running their seasons right now and getting close to their season finales will not be able to show their season finales on time due to the fact that the post-production on these TV shows, they've been filmed, but the post-production on them has not been done due to the fact of the shutdowns for COVID-19. So as everything gets back to normal and everybody goes back to work, they'll be able to work on the post-production of these things, and eventually they'll be able to release them. But, the last episode of your show might hit mid-April, and then you won't know what's going to happen until maybe July or August to find out what's going to happen. Michael Biehn has been cast in The Mandalorian Season 2, along with Rosario Dawson, who has been cast as Ahsoka Tano. I think we talked about that last week, but I just wanted to reiterate it. Michael Biehn is a guy who's been in Aliens, The Terminator, The Abyss. So he's worked a lot with Jim Cameron, and he's done a whole bunch of other things as well. So there's that. On the light side, nude hand sanitizing wrestling is a thing. So instead of nude jello wrestling, nude mud wrestling, you now have nude hand sanitizer wrestling, which honestly is probably a waste of hand sanitizer, but whatever. The Foo Fighters were taunted by ghosts while recording their new album, which will be coming out really soon. Humanoid robot makes every basketball shot he's told to try. So in Japan, they've actually made like a 6-foot-tall humanoid robot that's dressed in a basketball suit, and he's got his hand like this. They put the basketball there, and he's able to scan it, and he makes every shot from wherever he is. It swishes every time. Don't know. I just think that's kind of neat. The Museum of Death exists. So if you're interested in seeing a museum about death, check it out. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it's there. Scientists have discovered a worm-like creature that is the ancestor of all animals. I don't know how that's possible, but here we are. They said it is. There's got to be some reasonable explanation about how it can be the ancestor of all animals, so we'll see. Also, the Wonder Chicken fossil has been found. It's the oldest fossil of a modern bird. So, Wonder Chicken is what I should name this episode. But yeah, Wonder Chicken. I guess maybe when I'm posting this tomorrow, I should write Wonder Chicken. I hope to remember that. Here, just write Wonder Chicken. So I'll have the paperwork up here, and I'll just do Wonder Chicken. I think it's funny. God, maybe I shouldn't be drinking this. Now I got to pee, and now I've got a whole bunch of stuff left to do, so I got to be uncomfortable for a little bit. Dark chocolate strawberry candy cakes from, who does the candy cakes? Nabisco? No, not Nabisco. One of those people that does like Crimpets and stuff like that. They do the candy cakes. Well, now they do the dark chocolate strawberry candy cakes is a new one. Walmart is selling new ice cream flavors. One is filled with animal crackers and icing. One is called Peach Crisp with peach and crisp pieces in it. One is margarita. One is mango habanero coconut, which sounds absolutely disgusting, but that's just me. Captain Morgan's new summer drink will be the orange and vanilla rum, which obviously is probably going to taste like a creamsicle, so that might be a worthwhile thing to take a look at. And I just lost, I got them back. So I was like, I just lost my one viewer. Now they're back. Hello again. Hello there. Harry Potter workout. One of the things that I've talked about earlier is a lot of people are doing weird, interesting things on YouTube. One is the Harry Potter workout, where they're doing stuff like the Dementor run and Dementor dash, I should say, and but doing the swish and flick, where you're doing stuff like this to get your exercise in place. So take a look for Harry Potter workout. Find it somewhere on YouTube or on Facebook or something like that. The weekend box office hit $0 for the first time in 26 years. I would assume, wow, that was even past 9/11, because 9/11 was 2001. That was 19 years ago. So I don't know why 26 years ago the box office hit 0, but it's obvious now. No movie theaters are open, so obviously no films were seen in movie theaters, so no box office was made this week. The game of Clue was created during a lockdown during World War I air raid blackouts. So, just something interesting to compare with things, if you're under lockdown. So that's kind of good. 54 New Orleans firefighters have, I missed that one, have been tested positive for COVID-19. A dolphin accepts a baby whale and raises it for 3 years. So it's good to have animals, stories like this. The animals are doing their thing. Welder runs for his life as stadium collapses around him. I think I read somewhere he actually did not survive, but he was welding something, and all of a sudden the stadium, for whatever reason, started falling apart, so he had to run away like Indiana Jones did with the giant boulder. Florist creates a toilet paper bouquet as a joke, sells it out. So it was like a bouquet, had some flowers, but it also had lots of toilet paper in it, and people saw it like, oh, I want it, so they would buy it and give it to their loved ones. Kind of interesting. African gray, lots of toilet paper in it, and people saw it like, oh, I want it, so they would buy it and give it to their loved ones. Kind of interesting. African gray parrots help each other eat. A Seattle doctor, or Seattle driver, excuse me, creates the burrito delivery. He makes burritos and delivers them to people if they want them. What the hell am I writing here? Hobby Lobby refuses to close because CEO's wife had dreamed that God told her to keep it open. Yeah, that's not how it works. That's another reason why this virus isn't getting contained anytime soon. Something play song from blank, big, empty toilet paper, something. I got to move on because I really got to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to run through this real quick stuff again. So, must have been important. All alcohol sales have been shut down in the state of Ohio. So Ohio is now going to become a dry state during this period of quarantine. Kim Kardashian is selling crisis kits to profit off of the pandemic, which is just a dumb, stupid, terrible thing to do from a dumb, stupid, terrible person. Lost dog finds a police station, reports themselves as being lost. So the dog goes up and they're assuming the dog is lost. So they, try to see if they can find his owner, look at his collar, put his picture up, see if people can find him. Headless, eyeless robot mouth powered by AI says random prayers in Amazon's Kendra voice. When you look at it, it looks a hell of a lot like a sex toy. The mouth is big and wide and looks like that you could stick your what into it and have it like suck you off. But but it says prayers in Kendra's voice. So whoever Kendra is. You can now play Cards Against Humanity online. That's pretty cool. Just saw that today. Charmin has a forever roll of toilet paper that lasts up to 3 weeks, they say. Today is Vietnam War Veterans Day. This is the day that the Vietnam War basically ended with people leaving in 1973. So it's a holiday that not a lot of people celebrate. They should do more about it. There's a street on Main Street that has the Vietnam Veterans flag put up. So now Norman Reedus and Greg Nicotero from Walking Dead open a pop-up grocery store to engineers to develop a hack that turns scuba gear into ventilators, which we need ventilators badly, so that's good about that. Maryland man is arrested for having 60 people over for a bonfire, as he should. He's not social distancing properly, so he should be taken care of. Starbucks is giving away free coffee to first responders and healthcare workers. I think I said that last week, but I got to reiterate it because it's a good story. Okay, that's right. A bored sports commentator films his 2 dogs racing to eat their food, and it's a great commentary. I watched it. It's hilarious. The 2 dogs, he feeds them at the same time, and the dogs just chow down on it, and he's like saying, it's like, this one's in the winter. It's like a horse race almost. It's kind of funny. Tornadoes ripped through the Midwest. There were some big storms, had some thunder yesterday, heavy rain yesterday, so hopefully people will be okay about that. Hasbro is releasing G.I. Joe episodes of their cartoons on YouTube for free for people who are bored. And finally, my In Dreams episode this week, I dreamt I was at a birthday party for Jason Segel's How I Met Your Mother character. So he was there, obviously. Allison Hannigan, who plays his wife on the show, was there. My friends Karen and Kyle from Facebook, they were there also. Charlotte, who I used to work with at my former company, she was there as well. It was a trivia night that everybody hated, and the home backed out to a backyard made of grass that sloped down, and there were woods around it, but the trees were all bare, and people parked their cars on the hill. And my friend Kyle, who doesn't really drive, he was driving a big ass truck that looks like a combination of a car carrier and a thresher sort of thing. And I got into an argument with Charlotte, which was weird. So that was kind of interesting. So it was different, and I dreamed that this morning actually. So it's kind of cool. All right, I gotta go now because I really gotta go to the bathroom again. I gotta stop drinking this tea because I'm going to the bathroom all the time. All right, y'all, stay in, stay quarantined. Hopefully we can ride this out. And as I said, if we can ride this out, we'll have a big ass party, spend lots of money, and we'll do great. Take care. Keep everyone in their thoughts, who've been laid off, including myself, if you don't mind, and hope for the best that everything goes well and nobody gets infected. And take care of yourselves. Goodbye.